my friend, this is a mandolin and these are all the parts on it. When we look at the mandolin, we sometimes have ones that have electrics and don't. When we have something that has an electric in it, generally in the model number there's going to be a little E in there. If you have a CE, that would be a cutaway electric, but on a mandolin, you generally have different model numbers for different company makers, so it's not always the same. However, this is called an A. When we have an F, generally you'd have the style, but it has these F hole markings. Generally, it comes up with a little curve, backs down. There are so many different makes out there. Find one that is personal for you, and then go from there. If you have a question about what all this is, let me tell you. I got one that has just a volume knob and a tone knob on it. The electrics on some just go straight in and play. I like to have a little bit of volume so I can measure out what I'm doing through the effects that I like to do. Now, there are 8 strings here. However, when these doing 8 strings here, we're only really thinking about groupings of 2 together, so 4. When we talk about frets, it's like any other fretted instrument. We don't play on the middle, we play in the middle on the fret, not the fretting. So what I like to say is, we always like to swim in the water, not on the shore, right? So this thing I'm touching is the nut, goes all the way up here, crosses over this piece, which is called the bridge. Now, on a Mando, the bridge and the saddle sit together. This thing, bottom, touching the instrument, the bridge. On top, that's kind of scalloped in one way or the other to help the strings guide over the top, provides equidistance between this point and this point. Thusly, these should stay close to here, which gives us an idea of what we would like to call action. When we have a an instrument which is set up quite nice, it's easy to flow over the top of it. If you get an instrument that is not set up and you play it and play it and play it and play it, it will get a little better, but you really want to make sure that your harmonics and where you set up your notes is right on, or else you're going to have technical difficulties being in tune. Anyway, if you like the way that I teach and the way that I describe stuff, please subscribe to the channel, put something you would like to see, and comment below and talk with the others. I would love to see it. Other than that, the lowest strings are called the G, then we've got our Ds, and then we've got our A's, and then we've got our E. So the concept is, with the string sitting over the saddle and the bridge, going past the nut, the distances make a frequency. Open, and then if you pray it, it makes a frequency a little bit higher. All those strings go up past here, past what is inside here, a little metal rod called a tuning rod or an adjustment rod. We go all the way up top here to these. These are the pegs or the tuners of an instrument. Now on this one, there's a gear mechanism on the back. Some of the old school methods have corks that are shoved into holes like a violin would because the strings on this are rather thin. Otherwise, they all go back here and they're covered by a little plate. Let's see if I can get it off. Mandolins are notorious for this. Be careful too. You don't want to pop a string whilst doing this. There we go. You pull back that plate, pull it off, and you'll notice that your strings are going to be sitting in a 2-part system. Most Mandos have this set up. Generally, they don't just have one unless they go all the way over the top. That means they're going to attach to something in the back here, which is like a little hook guy. You put it around the top of there, and then you wrap it up, and it does the same. This is a 2-part system where it goes down, hooks it, and goes over the top of it. Clean your instrument. Make sure this is clean. It doesn't have a bunch of nasty nonsense with it. Other than that, change your strings once they feel like they're getting a little rusty. And if you play anywhere from 45 minutes to 4 hours a day, I would suggest changing them every 3 weeks. Other than that, we've got our tuning pegs, our strings coming up. What I always say to people when they're learning how to do this, put those strings on one at a time, take it all the way up through the hole, which is centered going up, and then when you do it, put all the strings through the middle, through that hole, and then wrap going this way. Up and out through the lotus flower, whoop, towards the clouds, and then around. The concept is if you pull a string all the way up there and it's nice and tight and you start tightening, there's nothing to bind around here. When you get it up top and straight there, pull it down like 2 or 3 frets. On the thicker strings, only a half a fret to a fret. On the thinner strings, up, do it like, I don't know, like 3 frets, 4 frets, 2 frets, 5 frets if you have really, really thin strings. Something thinner than like a 9. Ooh, that'd be so weird to play. Anywho, when playing out through the concept of this, We have all of our gears. Make sure that both of the strings on your mando are both in tune with each other. There are alternate tunings where you can have lower strings. You can even put different types of strings. There are mandolins that have different types of tunings and strings in different places. So check those out too. 4 strings, 5 strings, 6-string ukes. Ooh-wee. And then go through the concept of seeing that this has a pick guard. I leave all my plastic on until it's too late. I'm not a big fan of hitting the pick guard. I try to be up the top. And one of the rhythms that I use is like a down, down, up, which is an economical picking, or a down, up, down, up. That seems to be sufficient for me, along with just the standard rhythms that we play for chucking. When going through the idea of do I want to buy a mandolin, I started off with the lower end that I could just find online for my budget. Turns out I really like the way that this feels and sounds when it's plugged in. So I'm not going to do anything other than just play this instrument for a lot of pure satisfaction, learn my different chords, and then try and show a little bit of what we know here on the island to others who want to come and sign up for lessons. So if you're on island and you're visiting, stop by Big Island Guitars. Say hi, hello to some of our teaching staff and get a lesson today. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Aloha.